Hello again, this is Mike Cochrane with Value Function Analytics, and today we're going to do something a little fun. I'm going to talk to you about a study that I did over the last year or so where I used Microsoft Excel to manage a carpool. And this should be fun for you. It's a little bit geeky, but bear with me. This is an actual carpool that I participated in before I retired, and there were four participants in the pool. We began at March of 2012, finished in March of 2013, for a total number of commuting days of 241. The round trip commuting distance was 50 miles for us. We all met at one location, rendezvoused, and it was 25 miles each way. And the average gas price during that year was $3.50, and the assumed mileage of all of our vehicles was 25 miles per gallon. So let's get into the carpool management system. The way we did this was we used a point system, and it's a simple system to use. If you have an n-person pool, the driver gets n minus 1 points. So we had 4 people in our pool, so that means n minus 1 is 3, and if you were a driver that particular day, you got 3 points. If you're a passenger, you lose 1 point. The goal is that if you had a full vehicle, a driver and 3 passengers, then that would zero out. So the goal is to keep every day at 0. Now, if you didn't participate in the pool, you got a 0 for the day. So that was the basic system. The goal was to keep the row totals at 0. And then you can see in that far right column, we looked at the average carpool size. This was the very first top row of the pool, and you can see that it's gradually decreasing because that number there is simply 4 minus the average number of empty seats. That's going to compute our running total of the average size of our carpool. So the goal is to keep the number of points for each participant equal. That's how we run the management system. The next driver up to drive is the one with the lowest point total. So no money changes hands. We just rotate who is the one that's driving. And this is the results after about 241 days of driving, or about a year. You can see that the totals are not 0. They gradually crept up, but they're all pretty close to being equal. That was the goal, because whoever had the lowest total was the next person up to drive. And you also can see over on the right-hand side that our average carpool size has started to converge, but it's still above 3, which is what we're looking for. And we calculated statistics on the number of times that every one of us was a driver, the number of times we were a passenger, and the number of days that we didn't pool. And there's some nice numbers that you can come up with there. We pulled all of that into 4 pie charts, so you can see that looking at those, they're all pretty much equal. That was the goal, was to try to even things out across the year. And so about 1 out of every 5 days, a little bit more than 20% of the time, you're a driver, which would make sense. A little over 30% of the time, you're probably not going to be carpooling at all, and almost half the time, 45 to 48% of the time, you're a passenger. This is the convergence I was telling you about for the cumulative average carpool size. This is the running average, and you can see that it's very volatile at first, as you would expect, but then it seems to converge about 3.15. And as long as that measure is over 3, what that means is that basically all the participants in this carpool are making an effort to carpool together. Another way of looking at the trend is by looking at moving averages. And the blue dotted line is the 10-day moving average. The red solid line is the 20-day average carpool size, and the green solid line is the 30-day moving average for carpool size. The goal here is to see how it trends over time, cyclically and seasonally, and also those points in time where it drops below 3. Because even though the cumulative average stayed above 3, the moving average does drop below 3 periodically, and you can clearly see the summer slump, which is visible in the July, August, and September time frame, where even the 30-day moving average for carpool size has dropped below 3. So that's kind of an interesting way of looking at it. But here's the money slide, and that is how much is this going to save me? Here's the actual savings broken out. This assumes that each participant drove himself to work on the days not carpooling. That wouldn't necessarily be the case, but it's a pretty fair assumption to make. And had each person driven himself, the total fuel cost during that time would have been $1,687 over that 241 days. But because of the passenger time in which you got to ride for free, basically, each participant, each of us saved about $770 in fuel costs over the year. That's about a 46% savings. And if we hadn't carpooled and driven those 241 days, the gas prices, instead of being $3.50 per gallon, they would have had to have been as low as $1.90 a gallon to have achieved an equivalent savings. So you can see that we're talking pretty significant. And that 45%, that's the difference between paying $7 a day per person for fuel costs versus about $3.86. And you can clearly see that on this slide because here is the relationship between cost per person per day and the fuel efficiency of the vehicle. And that red line shows that at 25 miles per gallon, there's your $3.86. Another way of looking at the fuel savings is if you look at percent savings versus round-trip commuting distance. Clearly what we're seeing here is that as the commuting distance goes up, the marginal savings gets less and the marginal savings gets less and less. So you're really paying big dividends if you got a small commuting distance. But another interesting point is actually if you have a low mileage vehicle, your fuel efficiency vehicle is low. Like for example, the red curve represents a hypothetical vehicle with getting 15 miles per gallon. Your rate of savings using a carpool is pretty significant, so you basically get a little bit better bump if you have a less efficient vehicle. So that's one thing to be said for maybe using a van or something for a carpool. So here's some conclusions if you're thinking about doing a carpool and you'd like to use a management system. Use the point system. The driver always gets positive points equal to the total number of participants minus 1. Passengers lose 1 point, non-poolers get a 0 for the day, and it's easy to figure out who's the next person to drive because that's the person with the lowest point total. You will save money, even though this analysis only looked at fuel costs. You've got to consider reduced wear and tear on your vehicles as well. You'll also help solve traffic problems because remember, a 4-person carpool takes 3 cars off the road. If more people did this, we'd contribute significantly to solving our traffic problems. Plus, you get to use the high occupancy vehicle lanes. And bottom line, you will be less stressed if you're a passenger because you can sleep, you can check your smartphone during the ride, you can text because you can't do that when you're driving, and you can gawk at other commuters. And this carpool management tool is an Excel spreadsheet. I'll be happy to provide it to you if you send me an email. Who knows, an iPhone app may be coming out soon. So thanks for joining me on this little tour through my carpool management tool. If you would like to comment on this, please send me an email at valuefunction@gmail.com, and we'll see you here next time.